Ohio State and Notre Dame last night for the championship, national championship in the first ever college football playoff, something that we've been, screaming about for forever, my whole life at least. We finally got it. What'd you think of it, right? What'd you think? Was it any good? I thought it was all right, right? We'll get to the game last night in a second, but it wasn't bad. You could probably shave it down to 8 teams instead of 12. That first round left a bit to be desired. There wasn't really a good game in the bunch. It did turn out, though, that as they got closer to the championship game, to have some more competitive games, better games. And I think you come out with a more true champion, right? You get a team that worked through a playoff, that earned it, and not just voted by a bunch of coaches or a bunch of newspaper writers. So I like that aspect of it. You get, and we were working towards this, right? For the last 20 years, we've been working towards this. They started with the BCS, and then it was the semifinals and the finals, and they kind of worked towards this. And now we're set with a 12-team playoff. It's okay. And as far as the selection process and who gets in and who gets out, that you could have 50 teams. And people are going to argue over who should be the 51st and the 52nd team, and why they should have got in, and this team shouldn't have got in, and that's what you could just look at the NCAA tournament for that. I mean, there's the bubble bursters and the last 4 in, first 4 out, no matter what. No, so you can't make everybody happy, but this is it worked out. It worked out pretty well. I liked it. As far as last night's game goes, a weird game. A real weird game. Notre Dame came in heavy underdogs. 8.5 was the number. A lot of people that bet, that took the points with Notre Dame. I know a couple of them are, they're scratching their head today because they seem to have pulled out a miracle after it was all lost. And then, they get the field goal at the end, Ohio State does, to put the game away and to cover the point spread. But a weird game. Like I said, listen, this thing started out, Notre Dame started the game. They got the ball. They went on an 18-play, 9-minute, 45-second drive, touchdown, stick it right in the end zone. And you're like, wow, how impressive was that? I didn't think Notre Dame had this in them. And you're thinking, oh, maybe we got a game here. And then Ohio State scores 31 unanswered points. They come right back with an 11-play, 6-minute, 45-second drive of their own, put it in the end zone, and then it was just complete domination for the rest of the first half. Notre Dame ran, after that first drive where they ran 18 plays in almost 10 minutes, they ran 7 plays the rest of the first half. 7 plays. The game was over basically at halftime. And then it got to 28-7, and then it was 31-7, and it was 31-7 mid-third quarter. And Notre Dame, after that first drive, did absolutely nothing on offense. And then all of a sudden they woke up. They got 2 quick scores, 2 quick 2-point conversions, and all of a sudden it's a 1-score game, and you think it's 31-23, and Notre Dame's giving the ball back to Ohio State with, what about, the 3 minutes left. They just need to get a stop. All the momentum is with Notre Dame at this point. They stop them on the first 2 plays. You're looking at a 3rd and 11. For Ohio State. Notre Dame gets a stop here. Who knows, right? Who knows what could happen? And Ohio State gets in the shotgun, 3rd and 11, and Howard throws a ball, a rainbow down the right sideline, and Smith, who couldn't get open all day, was wide open, ran right past the corner for Notre Dame, and it was 6-7 yards behind them, made the catch, and that led to the field goal and the game over. And Ohio State wins their first national championship in 10 years. It's now 2 in a row for the Big Ten because Michigan won last year. Does it save Ryan Day's job at Ohio State? I think he was safe getting to this point. But, I mean, when they lost to Michigan and there was that whole fight and Michigan's planting the flag in the middle of the field, and it didn't look good. It didn't look good at all. And Ohio State, they didn't have an easy road here. This is someone saying, oh, it's the toughest one ever. And this, that. I mean, it wasn't easy. I don't know if it's the toughest one ever. I mean, it's the only one ever, right? Nobody's ever had to do this because they've never had this before. But they beat Tennessee, then they beat Oregon. And remember that Oregon game? Oregon was number 1 in the country. They were a high-powered offense, and that game was 40-0 at halftime, right off the bat. The game was never a game. Then they beat Texas, and now Notre Dame. And listen, I think it may have saved his job just because a lot of people don't realize how important the Michigan game is at Ohio State. It's everything. It's as big as the national championship. As big. That game is everything to those two schools. And he lost 4 in a row. Losing 4 in a row to Michigan will get you fired at Ohio State. Like I said, he's obviously saved his job now, but that he was teetering. And the way they lost, they didn't score any points, the 13-10, the Michigan planting the flag in the horseshoe, the fight that ensued afterwards. Listen, that would have got him fired. If they lost to Oregon in that second round, he's gone. He's gone. Day is out. Now, I think Chip Kelly being the offensive coordinator is a huge plus. That's a great hire. And that's not an easy hire for a coach to make because Chip Kelly's high profile. He's been an NFL coach. He's won a national title himself in college. He was Oregon, the big high-powered offense. Him coming there, taking a step back as a coordinator really helped him, propel this offense to what it is. And they dominated this game. I mean, Notre Dame had 40 yards rushing on that first drive. They finished the game with 53. 53 yards. They got 13 yards on the ground after the first drive. And as far as Notre Dame's defense, listen, Notre Dame couldn't stop them, right? They needed a stop at the end. They needed one stop. And they could have had a chance in this game. And they couldn't get it. 3rd and 11. And you let the guy get right behind you, run 5 yards past you. No safety help. They put him this single coverage out on an island by himself, and the receiver Smith just ran right by him. And Howard dropped it in the bucket, and the game was over right there. They kick a field goal to screw everybody who bet on Notre Dame, and they win 34-23 for your national championship. And you know what? I think that the playoff was good. I think the SEC has kind of been knocked back down to earth a little bit. They had Georgia in it, and Georgia went out to Notre Dame. They weren't very competitive. Notre Dame dominated that game. The SEC is now in a bit of a rut, if you could call it that. They'll be back. They will be back. Of course they'll be back because they dump loads and loads of money into those programs. But it also is kind of curious that now that everybody's paying players, all of a sudden the SEC looks rather ordinary. You could take from that what you will. Who knows what that means? But the game was over. A lot of people, I'm guessing, turned it off. 31-7. A lot of Notre Dame fans were like, "I'm not watching this." Every time they make it to the championship game or have a shot at a title, they lay an egg and they get blown out of the building. And then they fought back. So give Notre Dame credit for fighting back. After the game, a bit of controversy, a bunch of reporters in the locker room saying Notre Dame players are yelling at reporters. The coaches are telling them not what questions they could ask, who could film. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to say what happened. Nobody has film of it. The reporters are saying because they weren't allowed to film it. Listen, you go into a locker room after a loss like that and a bunch of college kids, you might get some things said to you that are not very professional or very G-rated. Everything I saw, the interviews that I saw from the coach, from the quarterback, they all seemed very cordial and very sportsmanlike, I guess would be the term. But I mean, it was just a weird game, right? You have Notre Dame who started with 18 plays, 9 minutes, and 10-minute drive into the end zone. Ohio State was in shock. I think everybody in the building was in shock. They ran it right down their throat. They couldn't stop them. But you were saying to yourself in the back of your head, okay, listen, Ohio State hasn't had the ball yet. And then they orchestrate a 7-minute, 11-play drive, and then the domination was on. Notre Dame the defense just was not non-competitive for Notre Dame for a long time in that game. You know, I mean, they got out. The total yards were a big gap in the total yards. Almost 500 total yards, 445 for Ohio State, 308 for Notre Dame. Passing yards were even, but the yards on the ground, I mean, after that drive to start the game for Notre Dame, you would figure they had at least a good game on the ground, right? They ran it down their throat, 40 yards. The final yards, rushing yards for this game, Ohio State 214, Notre Dame 53. 53. And you're not going to win like that. Now, two straight for the Big Ten, as they're, in the revival of the Big Ten, which is basically half the schools in the country at this point. But it is two original Big Ten schools. It's Michigan and it's Notre Dame, and it's two of the big boys, and it's back-to-back, and it's the rivals, and that rivalry is very, very strong and very, very healthy. Notre Dame is going to, I think, have to find themselves. They're going to have to join one of these conferences. And I know they don't want to do it because they got the NBC money coming in, and they're independent, and they love that contract with NBC. It pays them a boatload of money, and they could spend that money on their NIL and whatnot. But they're going to have to get into a conference. They're going to have to find some games to play. Because now with these conferences it's basically into 2 or 3 super conferences, they're going to just be playing each other. Nobody's going to have time to play Notre Dame. Now, I think Notre Dame will always get its games because they're Notre Dame. But now, Notre Dame's still without a championship since 1988. Lou Holtz in the building yesterday. All the big ones were in there. Eddie George, Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana. They were all there. All the big names. And I thought it was okay. I thought that as a whole, the college football playoff started out slow, picked up a little steam. You got a couple decent games. And I think going forward, it's going to work out, right? You got a true champion. Because the way it was just terrible. And now the college sports and athletics in general has got to do something about the NIL, and it's a Wild West situation. I mean, you got a Michigan quarterback coming in from high school now next year being paid $10 million a year. What? So, listen, as they fix one problem, as college sports, college football fixes one problem, they got another one just as big, if not bigger, right behind it, and they're going to have to fix that. So, but as far as the play in the field, good game. It ended up being entertaining. You thought it was going to be a washout early. Turned out not to be. Notre Dame gave them a run for their money at the end there. But when it came down to it, they couldn't get the stop they needed. On the one play, they needed 3rd and 11, and it's going to be our call of the week, and it's Kirk Herbstreit, and it's Fowler on the call, ESPN, ABC, College Football National Championship, 3rd and 11, game on the line, and here's how it sounded.
Howard sitting back there with time to throw. See the backers are moving. Here they come.
Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. And Smith, he's got it! Jeremiah Smith hadn't had a touch in the second half until that potential game clincher. First down at the 10.
Well, they went 0, meaning they blitzed 7. They left everybody on an island, and Ohio State thinks that's a mismatch with Jeremiah Smith against anybody. Not only that, but the corner, Christian Gray, gave him a cushion. Didn't that jam?
Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, the old Ohio State quarterback, on the call, ESPN, and that led to the field goal, which screwed all the Notre Dame gamblers. And away Ohio State went with their first national title in the last decade, second in a row for the Big Ten. Michigan right behind them. Let's see what happens there. Ryan Day, I think, saved his job. I think he needed to get to at least get to this game. He did. He won it. It was a 7 seed against an 8 seed. Not Cinderellas. Ohio State and Notre Dame will never be Cinderellas, but it was lower seeds. The seeding really didn't matter. You had the first round, the home games. We'll see. I think they will improve on it as we go along, and I think you're going to get some classic playoff games. and in college football. And that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. Some good quality, unscripted entertainment. That's what sports is, and that's what we want. And, like I said, it was a good game. And I think it was a good college football playoff. First one ever. First one, so they'll improve on it. So that's going to do it for us. I'm Bob Walters. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. Remember, you can catch us anytime, anywhere you get your podcasts on YouTube, as well as on our website, lockedupsports.net, lockedupsports.net. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Every little bit helps. From the Brian Gunzel Studios, I'm Bob Walters. See ya.